I want to welcome everyone to Staying Connected in a Social Distanced World. Today's workshop webinar will be about 25-30 minutes long, and there will be time for questions afterward. We'll go over the agenda in just a moment, but a couple quick things. Just so that I'll be talking about clients and stories as we go through this today. And just so you have context, right now I'm a psychotherapist in private practice, 100% telehealth these days. I also work for EFR Employee Family Resources in a number of capacities, including webinars like these. My background before that, though, includes family business consulting, which I still do, and then just a variety of management positions, sales positions, mediation, working with high-risk youth. So kind of runs the gamut, and I'll be drawing some examples, probably mostly from psychotherapy clients, but it could hit any of those categories. Johanna with EFR will be monitoring the chat feature, so I really strongly encourage you to use that at least once during this presentation. And a good way to do that is to do it quickly so that you've been able to participate. That really helps the other participants, and it's both a supportive thing, and there's a lot of wisdom. Always I learn things from these presentations a lot, and so there's a lot of collective wisdom in these groups. So with that, we will just jump right in. These are today's objectives. You can see there's a number of them, so we'll be really kind of hitting them quickly. Learn why being connected is so important. I think we know that, but we'll re-emphasize that, and really how we're wired to connect, how that all works. Talk about understanding the need to show compassion for ourselves and others. These are difficult times. We'll gain strategies. I want this to be as practical as possible, so strategies and approaches for being connected. And as I'll probably reiterate later, the strategies that we talk about today are meant to, many of them are meant to just be, to really get you thinking and to maybe get you outside of an area that you've even considered before. I have not tried each and every one, as you'll see when we, and that'll make more sense when we go a little bit further. Really, the goal for me would be that you ask yourself questions and that you apply the relevant material, so that 6 months from now, whether you remember the name of the webinar or you remember my name, there's 2 or 3 things that you're doing because of today. And it might not be because of something I said. It might be something that somebody put in a chat, however that works. So today's title had social distancing in it because that's the common title we use, or common phrase we use, social distancing. Really, we need to look at reframing that to physical distancing. We don't really want a social distance. And in a lot of ways, that's what today's presentation is about. How do we keep our social relationships, maintain, even strengthen our relationships, which is not social distancing, while physical distancing. So important distinction, language matters, and that's kind of the basis for this. One, let's see here, it's not wanting to advance. There we go. So consider putting a comment in the chat about, and then Johanna will read these out in a bit. What's the most difficult thing about physically distancing during COVID? What's the hardest for you about that? These are challenging times, as we'll see in these next few slides. This is one reason that's challenging. It's still here. You know, it's months and months later. And, you know, as humans, we are surprisingly resilient when faced with acute or short-term stress. By now, though, most people have been impacted in multiple areas. Maybe you have kids and you're trying to figure out the whole school and balancing juggling act with school and work, and how do I do that? If you're a single parent, that can be especially hard. Could be financial stress. I heard a statistic the other day, 1/3 of US people who live in the US are worried about being able to stay in their residence in the short to medium term. So that's you know, we're impacted in a lot of ways. Family members, friends, getting sick, not getting sick. Are they going to get sick? So COVID has really transitioned from a short-term stressor to a long-term unremitting chronic stressor. And research shows with every month, more, it just gets harder and harder for us. More people report that COVID has impacted their negative or their mental health. And chronic stress leads to mental and physical health issues. So this is a perfect example. This is a recent study, obviously very recent. University School of Public Health, Boston. Over 1/4 of US adults had depression symptoms as of mid-April. These are significant depressive symptoms. That's compared to less than 10%. In both cases, these are probably underreported. Typically, people don't like to talk about depression, and typically in guys, it's underreported because depression might look like anger, irritability, substance abuse, other things, and it's not quite as commonly seen as sadness, grief, can't get out of bed in guys. So it's underdiagnosed. So these are probably underdiagnosed numbers. So one of the stressors of living with COVID is we are in close quarters with our family, with our pets, and you just heard a pet speak out about that. So that's very rare for him. I think that's the last we'll hear from him, hopefully. And so that's one of the stressors of COVID, though. How do I do my work? How do I make a presentation when I'm trying to juggle family and pets and all these other things? So let's talk a little bit about how we're wired. So this is a simple system that I use with almost all of my clients, and it would be a model that my clients report is one of the most effective or transformative models that they're exposed to as we work together. And this is just, again, simple. Divides our emotional regulation system, how our body makes sense of the world, into 3 different systems. The first in red is our threat and self-protection system. Strongest system in the body. If a car's swerving into your lane, even for all of you people who would, be overthinkers, quite a few of my clients say I overthink. That's their term for it. So even for those of you who are very analytical, really good at thinking things through, someone swerves into your lane, you don't say to yourself, 8 o'clock, Jesus, early, they could be eating. No, they're probably texting. Most people text when they drive versus eat. And you wouldn't have this internal dialogue because crash. Instead, all this adrenaline and cortisol would rush into your body. Your world would get this big, just that car in front of you. You would swerve or do whatever it took to get out of the way. So the threat system is the fastest system and strongest system in our body. Fight, flight, freeze, which we'll talk about in a minute. But these are the emotions, negative emotions. I don't love this, the way this was presented in terms of calling these negative emotions. These are difficult emotions oftentimes for us, but they give us good information, so they're not necessarily negative. The blue, drive, achievement. We're not 8 feet tall. So let's go back for just a second. Thor and Jane are living in a cave. So this system goes way, way back. Thor hears a loud noise. Thor's a happy-go-lucky guy, and he goes out to investigate. Well, maybe that works the first time he hears a sound, or the second, or the third. Somewhere along the way, chomp, that saber-toothed tiger just got Thor, okay? So that's one of the reasons why we're Velcro for bad, Teflon for good. It's really important to focus on the bad because we need to keep ourselves safe. So that's stuck with us. Similarly, from way, way back, we weren't 8 feet tall. We couldn't run faster than cheetahs, didn't have claws. So built into us is this drive system for getting food, clothing, shelter, for figuring out how to do fire, or how all the things that we had to do. Nowadays, and it's also procreation, keeping the species going. Nowadays, it's about paying rent, paying our house payment, keeping our job, having a job, getting through school, whatever it might be. So these tend to be more what would be called oftentimes positive emotions, excited, joyful, but again, where you're kind of on. Green, soothing and contentment. Jane and Thor are living in the cave. They have a baby. If Jane didn't have a really strong soothing and containment system within her, and if the baby didn't also, Jane might just say, you know what? I think, you know what? I'll go explore some caves with Joe. That'd be fun for a few weeks. I'm tired of Thor. Yeah, he's boring. No, that wouldn't work. The baby would not survive. So we have built into us this soothing system. As you can see, red and blue are very activating. Green is kind of that rest and digest, that just, and pets are a good example of that. Those of you who are pet lovers, as long as they're not barking during presentation, very soothing, and can be a really good source of that. And we'll talk more about that whole system in just a minute. I really like this slide because it shows kind of that leopard skin. You know, this has been around forever, since cave person days and before. And if you notice, the red shoes still with us. In fact, I just had this conversation with a woman early this morning, 8 o'clock session, and you know, about when you're in some version of fight, flight, or freeze, you're just not thinking well. Okay, when that car is in your lane, you're not thinking well. When COVID becomes an unremitted chronic stress where we're always in some sort of fight or flight, just always uneasy, anxious, we don't think as well. We don't brainstorm. We don't think outside the box. We're quicker to anger. So that's the threat system. Really good if a saber-toothed tiger's chasing us. Really good if a car swerves into our lane. Not so good for something like COVID or lots of other stressors. So we are wired to connect, okay? Nowadays, threat can be physical or emotional. Animals can't think, oh, you know what? You know, the zebra can't say to itself, you know, that lion almost got me. Wow, I wonder where he lives. I wonder if he's coming back. Does he have friends? What time of day was this? No, zebras don't do that. We can do that. Why did I say that? That was so stupid. What are they going to think about me? And why, you know, so we can go on and on and on within our own minds, which can take us into a sense of threat. 2 ways to soothe ourselves, which we'll be talking about today: personal, mindfulness, exercise, deep breathing, reassuring self-talk, and the support of others who are safe and supportive and trustworthy, other beings. It doesn't have to be people, okay? For those of you, I'm guessing there's some of us in this webinar together that live alone. So it doesn't have to be another human. As we'll see, there's ways to connect with nature and with many other things. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, and maybe take and I'm going to pause here. So you've got some time anyway, you might as well use it. I'm going to pause and ask you to really think about the quality of your connections with your family. How connected are you to family members? I'm guessing some more than others. How about friends? And I really encourage you to write something down as we do this piece. What's the quality of your connections with your friends? And as we go through this, thinking about, you know, maybe there's some room for improvement. Maybe there's some action I can take. Maybe I can reach out. Nature. What's your quality of connection to nature? A lot of research, more and more all the time, about how nature can be very rejuvenating, very restorative, very good for our mental and physical health. Neighborhood. How connected are you to your neighborhood? I live in a townhome association. Prior to Willie, Golden Doodle, I knew 3 or 4 people, maybe 2 of them really well. One I actually knew before I moved here, or actually 2. And so knew them really well. Now, just based on being out, walking a lot more, stopping to talk with people, I know 7, 8, 10 people pretty well. Just out for a walk this morning, and I was talking to a woman about her husband who just got home from cancer surgery. So how connected are you? I was not connected to my neighborhood before. Feel very much more connected now. How connected are you to your neighborhood? You can still be 6 feet apart. You can still talk. My larger community, how about that? How connected are you there? And how about things you value or maybe used to value? Music, literature. So just take a moment and think about the quality of your connections. Whoops. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to write some things down today. The rest of this presentation is really going to be about things you can do. Connection is essential to our mental and physical health. And again, it doesn't have to be to a family member. Great if you have family members close by and can be connected, but it doesn't have to be. That's not the only source of connection that's helpful. So now we're just going to really brainstorm about other ways you can be connected. Caveat that I mentioned already, I have not tried each and every one of these things that we're going to be talking about today. If you have technical questions, you can put those in the web chat, but I probably won't be able to answer those, at least on some of these. I've definitely tried some. But this is, again, really to get you thinking. How can I connect with others in a deeper way? Old school, call grandkids, family members, or friends. Maybe this means making a phone tree. You put 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, on a list. And each day or each week, you call one. So if you have 10 people on the list, that's one a week. Call, catch up, and it's amazing how, and I think all of you know, this isn't new to me. This isn't something, I thought of, but just how impactful that can be and how we don't know how impactful that can be. So old school, reach out via Facebook. Actually, the person I talked to this morning, one of our sessions 3 or 4 weeks ago, was about a person who liked one of her posts who she really lost contact with and had tons of guilt about. This person that she'd lost contact with had a baby. She hadn't followed up with it. And so, in our session, she decided, you know what, I can reach out. I can actually get a present. I can send it. I can connect. Whether she connects back, I can't control that. But, she reached out with a like, so she probably will. Facebook, you can host a watch party. The host chooses Facebook videos, and then you all watch those together. And then obviously you can comment together, especially if they're funny videos. Google Hangouts or FaceTime, and video chats. How about a Zoom dinner? There's a host of the Today Show. Every Thursday, she puts an iPad in a chair and she talks to her mom while she's doing a Zoom dinner. Okay. Every week, week after week. Happy hour. We have some friends in Storm Lake. We typically would go to a place, Lanesboro, up in southern Minnesota, each fall, spend time with them. Can't do that right now. So every month, 6 weeks, something like that, we do a happy hour on a Friday afternoon. We just get together and talk with them for an hour, hour and a half, share a beverage, etc. That can be the same thing with the coffee break. Our book club actually has moved from in-person to virtual as of last late winter, and it's amazing how good our discussions can be. My wife and I just participated in our book club last Friday, and we both commented afterward, wow, that was a really good discussion. So and workouts together, you can work out together as a way to motivate each other. I think all of us know, if I say to myself, yeah, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and work out tomorrow, yeah, maybe not. Like if I'm really disciplined, it's really, really important to me, and I have a really good structure, like I lay out my clothes in the morning and all of that, yeah, it may happen. But if I know that Joe is going to be showing up via Zoom at 6 a.m. saying, hey, where are you? I'll probably be there. Okay, so work out together. When I was doing research for this presentation, I ran across a family that the couple are in their 50s. They have kids who are teenagers, and they're taking family dance lessons. I think they're doing hip hop actually together online. And how about just bringing back the family dinner, family game night? Okay, family game night could again be virtual. So lots of ways we can connect. Is it the same? No. But the key is to not let perfect be the enemy of good. So it's good. It can be a good way to connect. No, it's not perfect. No, it's not as good. It's still good. How about host a Netflix movie via teleparty? So Netflix just recently changed. It used to be called Net Party. In October, that changed to Teleparty, and now it includes Hulu, I think HBO, and a couple others. I just hosted one as preparation for this. I wanted to try it out myself. We watched a Richard Attenborough movie. Had great cinematography, and my wife and I were at home, and one of our friends was in her home. And since I was the host, when I started the movie, once she logged in and I logged in, I started the movie. We all watched it together, the same exact scenes. So I stopped the movie, it stops for the other person too. You could have multiple people on, it's not just a couple different households. And then we could chat about the movie. Was it the same as, her name's Nancy, our good friend Nancy being in the living room with us? No, but it sure enhanced our experience. And actually, Nancy said afterward, you know what? I'll definitely do this again. Let's do this again. Okay. So it was actually a fun way to do it. Video chat with friends while taking virtual tours together. You can now take virtual tours of museums, national parks, and more. If I had my phone handy, which I don't know that I do, I could show you. There's actually a Google Arts and Culture app that I downloaded to my phone. And you can go to museums. Again, you can go to national parks. And is it the same as being there? Of course not. It's not the same. Is it better than being bored and saying, oh, I wish there was something to do? Way better. Walk and talk phone conversations. My wife talks with her sister who's in Washington once a week. They'll each go for about an hour walk and they'll talk that entire time. Okay. Starting recipe exchanges, tuning into live stream concerts together. Again, this is just to get you thinking, is there more I can do? Whoops, sorry about that. Having a little bit of technical difficulty here. Okay. So the key questions are, within my current relationships, are there opportunities to strengthen and deepen them? Maybe jot something down. Put something in the chat if you think it might be helpful for others. And are there opportunities to take these relationships to a new level by calling them, by engaging in some activity with them? And then a key question is, what's one step I can take today? One step. So this is good. It's a Dan Hicks song. I'm not going to sing it. Funny story about my singing voice, which I won't go into, but I'm doing you a favor. Let's put it that way. How can I miss you when you won't go away? Keep telling you day after day, but you won't listen. You always stay and stay. How can I miss you when you won't go away? Too much connection. Spread the love around. You know, reach out to aunts, uncles, cousins, parents, friends, whoever. How about community? Are there ways you can volunteer? Even virtually? I'm guessing there are. Check on neighbors that need help. Wearing a mask, you can knock on their door, especially in our community. There's some older residents. Do you need anything? Do you need any help? Our townhome association actually started a system where somebody can request help from a central person who then puts that out to the group. That can be done in neighborhoods. The Nextdoor app is a good example of that, and I've got that app on my phone. It's specific to your neighborhood, fairly broad neighborhood, and people weigh in about things. They ask questions, about Mediacom or this or that, or had a break-in, in the car, whatever. Again, a way to be connected with your community. Obviously, physically distanced driveway gatherings, which might now be driveway gatherings, if you happen to have those really tall heaters that put out a lot of heat, drive-by events, and try giving yourself away. This is a book that I got probably 15 years ago. Well worn. You can see it's a used book. Try Giving Yourself Away was written in the 1950s by a business person who made it his hobby to just perform acts of service. I guess in some ways you call it random acts of kindness. He said he was a collector of afterglows, just that good feeling of knowing you're doing something, whether it's a smile or reaching out to someone, just any small way. And the entire book is about finding small ways to give yourself away or to be of service. The Book of Joy, Dalai Lama, Bishop Desmond Tutu, talk about how it's so helpful when we get out of our own head and we're serving other people, even when it's hard for us to do, even when we don't feel like it. How about connect with nature? No bad weather, just bad clothes. My wife, probably if she hears that one more time from me, it won't be good for me. But in a lot of ways it's true. So there's trails in Iowa. There's apps, there's websites, just even spending time in your yard and deck. Yep, it's 30 degrees right now. I'm guessing many of you have clothes you can put on and you'd be okay, especially if there's a little sun. Guessing snowshoes will be very hard to find at some point when we get more snow, just like a lot of things have been hard to find, but just finding ways to get outside. If you don't want to get outside, you can go to Google Earth. You can do a guided tour of selected parks. Just Google NPS Ranger. And ProArt Inks has virtual hikes on YouTube. So this screen's on there long enough that you can definitely jot a few things down. You can even Google live stream at a beach if you're really missing that. So is it the same? No. But again, the point isn't, is it the same? The point is, it's better than nothing. It's better than, kind of being caught in your own head. And a lot of these things you can do with other people, share in some way. I was in Colorado 2 weeks ago today. We were in North Cheyenne Canyon. So I went into Google Earth about a week ago, and this would be something very, very similar to what we saw while we were hiking in North Cheyenne Canyon. So I could go into Google Earth and see the trails I went on, the areas I was in. It's kind of cool. Other ways to connect: music, pets, COVID puppies. It's a thing. I've got four clients with puppies, a stepson with a puppy, our golden doodle, my daughter and her Swiss Mountain Dog puppy. I mean, pets aren't for everyone, and it sure could be cats and it can be fish. They're not for everyone, but they can be a way to connect. Any passion that you've had. I work with a woman who used to play the guitar some, really liked it, and recently has reconnected with getting the guitar out and playing gospel music. And for her, that's a really strong connection to her spirituality. And then yourself, self-care. If we're overly stressed, tired, burned out, it's really hard to be connected and feel connected. So what are some things that can ground and soothe me? Again, these are things we've talked about in a lot of ways. Distraction, there's lots of ways we can do that. But calming and soothing, that green circle we talked about before. Drive, exercise, being productive, helping others. So self-care is a piece of this connection. Connect to yourself. Let's remember that everyone carries this invisible suitcase. We don't know what's going on. I recently worked with actually it was on Monday. I have a client who all outward appearances would be very, very high functioning and is really, really struggling. We don't know. People are really good at keeping this to themselves. When someone's mean to us, rude to us, very often there's something going on inside that invisible suitcase that we can't see. So what I'd ask you to consider as we end this presentation or get ready to end is, when I look back on this time, this hard time, this COVID time, uncertainty and change, What do I want to be able to say about how I stay connected? It's 5 years from now. I'm looking back on October, November, December. What do I want to be able to say about how I approached it, what I tried, what I experimented with, what I did? So fill these blanks in. In this webinar, my key takeaways are: based on today's webinar, I will, and to start doing the above, what do I need to do? So with that, that's the end of the formal presentation. I'll turn it over to Johanna with EFR.
All right, thank you, Lars. We had so much feedback during the presentation. So I'm gonna go over the EAP benefit slide, and then I wanna circle back to some of the comments and ideas people have that they were sharing. So as a reminder, if you are listening today, most likely you have EFR's EAP benefits. So we are available 24/7 by calling our 800 number. You can call us to ask questions about the benefits that you have available. You can call us to start using those benefits. If you are a leader or a manager, you can call us to do what we call a management consult, which is when a leader or manager calls in and they have a question or a concern about a situation with an employee and they need some guidance, and EFR can provide that. So as a reminder, your benefits would include the 24-hour phone support. This slide says 6 in-person or virtual counseling sessions. It's actually 3 or 6. It depends on what benefit package your employer has elected for you. You would also have access to online telephonic, legal and financial consultation, as well as elder and child care resources. So I know that there have been a lot of people reaching out lately just because there's a lot of stress and uncertainty related to COVID and the social climate in the United States, and just a lot of things going on that are causing people to feel anxious and on edge. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I always say, if you think you could benefit from calling EFR, you probably will benefit from calling EFR. So taking that first step of calling is sometimes the hardest, but we encourage you to do it. Also, I want to emphasize that what you share with EFR remains between you and EFR, or you and the counselor that we connect you with. It is a confidential service. Your employer does not get any specific information back about you or your situation. So Lars, I think the first question you asked, it might have been one of your first 2 or 3 slides. You said, what has been the most challenging aspect of physically distancing from people? And so many people responded, so thank you to everyone. It's nice to see the engagement, but I'm just seeing there's one word that just keeps popping up, and it's hugs. I'm a hugger. Okay. I miss hugging. No hugs. So a lot of people miss being able to give and receive hugs. Someone commented that they miss seeing people's smiling faces, and that's something that I hadn't thought of. But yeah, especially if you are not working from home and you're out in maybe a workplace where you're all masked up all the time, you don't see people's smiling faces. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people have been commenting on just the isolation from friends, and then more specifically family. So we've had a few people reference not being able to spend time with aging parents because they live in a nursing home, or not being able to spend time with aging parents because of their vulnerability to the virus. Yeah. And then on the other end of the spectrum, a few people chimed in that they are they're looking forward to retiring in the near future, but their retirement plans included a lot of travel and spending time with grandkids. And now they wonder what retirement will look like for them. So many great comments. And there were a few questions that I want to address. One person commented that she has found that people love old school snail mail, and I would agree. Oh, I love sending letters and cards to my friends, and I love receiving them. So I second that.
That's a great Yeah, you bet.
One person commented she's feeling too connected because there's only 2 people at her house and they're always there.
So the Dan Hicks song probably resonated.
Yes. All right, there was a question about can the copy of the presentation be sent afterwards? We don't send a copy of the presentation, but we do upload the presentation to our website. So you can watch this again. You can share it with someone who you think would enjoy it. And if you go to efr.org, just go efr.org/webinars, and you'll be able to find this webinar and all of our webinars that we've done there. I would wait about 24 hours. Normally I can get them up pretty quickly, but I always say give me 24 hours in case there's some kind of technical issue. And that would answer another person's question about how to watch a future webinar. If you can't attend in person, just visit our website, efr.org/webinars. Lars, can you share the first book you recommended or the first book you referenced?
The very first, that's not Try Giving Yourself Away?
I'm not sure. The comment just says, what was the first book?
I don't remember more than one, but there probably was.
Or maybe that was the only one you referenced.
Yeah, it was, and if they want to email you with more, or even right now in the chat, put more information back. I just don't recall more than one, but I may have mentioned another one.
Okay.
That's this one. It's not easy to find because it's been out of print for a while, but you can find them. I actually got a couple copies for clients just to give them because I knew they appreciate the message. But it's just David Dunn, Try Giving Yourself Away.
Thank you.
It's pretty cool because his examples are all in the 50s. It was written in the 50s. So, I'm on a train doing this, or, I stopped in at they were doing window dressing at it wasn't Yonkers, but whatever, Macy's, they were doing a window dressing at the Macy's. And I just was really moved by it. So I stopped in and talked to the person doing it. And, so it's kind of funny, but there's a lot of wisdom.
And then I just wanted to remind everyone that our next webinar is on Tuesday, November 10th at 2 p.m. Central. And the topic is shut down, shout out, or check in, how to communicate better in tough times. And we have a new facilitator. His name is Dick Hanish, and he will be a new face and voice for some of our upcoming webinars. So that is on November 10th at 2 p.m. And then on Wednesday, November 18th at 10 a.m. Central, we have Healthier Holidays, Mindful Eating with Susie Roberts. She's a registered dietitian. And Lars, there are several people saying thank you to you. I just want you to know that people are appreciative of your insight and wisdom, and I'm appreciative of your time. You've spent so many hours with us over the past few months facilitating these webinars, and we really appreciate it. So thank you from EFR. All right, everyone have a great day, and I hope to see you on November 10th.
Right. Thanks, Joanna.
Bye.